So Mounjaro works, but there's a specific way it works against South Asian bodies, and I've never actually seen another creator talk about it. So let's talk about it. Now, before we even get you to the drug, you need to understand the body you're bringing to it, basically. So South Asian bodies, Pakistani, Indian, Bangladeshi, they're metabolically different from the bodies that most weight loss research is built around. And this is not an opinion, it is in the data. Research consistently shows South Asians carry more visceral fat, you might already know this, and significantly less muscle mass than other ethnicities, and this is the part most people do not pay attention to, even at the same body weight. So the standard overweight threshold in the BMI scale is 25. For South Asians, it is 23, because at a lower body weight, South Asian bodies are already storing more metabolically dangerous fat. The deep internal kind packed around your organs, not the kind you can pinch. Now that fat is visceral fat, it's not passive. It drives insulin resistance, which you guys have probably heard of. It makes fat loss harder and fat storage easier. South Asians carry more of it at lower body weights than almost any other ethnic group in the research. So before Mounjaro even enters a picture, your body is already starting from a harder metabolic position than the populations these drugs were tested on. That's the baseline. But you see, that baseline is only half the problem. What Mounjaro does on top of it is, what nobody is saying out loud. I like to call it the muscle tax. And here's what Mounjaro does well. It's effective at suppressing appetite. You stop craving food, you eat less, and the weight starts coming off. For people with genuine clinical need, obesity, type 2 diabetes, that effect is very real. I'm not dismissing it. But here's what the prescription does not come with. When your calories drop hard, which they will on this drug, your body still needs some energy from somewhere. It does not just pull from your fat stores purely, it pulls from your muscles too. And studies show that up to 40% of the weight loss on GLP-1 drugs like Mounjaro is not the fat, it is lean muscle mass as well. 4 out of every 10 kg lost, not fat, muscle. And that's why I call it the muscle tax. And for South Asian women particularly who already start with less muscle than the average, the tax is a hell of a lot higher. So you're paying more than everyone else for the same number on the scale. And here's why that matters. Muscle is your metabolism's engine. Understand this. The more you carry, the more calories you burn at rest. Just sleeping and just existing basically. So when the muscle goes, the engine shrinks, the scale is dropping, the clothes are getting looser, but the foundation underneath is quietly getting weaker with every injection. And I get messages from women on Mounjaro, scale going down, but I'm exhausted, weaker than before than they started. And that's not just the drug working, that is the muscle tax being paid. And for South Asian women who are already starting with less muscle mass, that cost, as I said, is going to be a hell of a lot higher. Most people stop at the weight loss number and think, the story ends there, but that's the mistake everyone makes. Which then leads me on to the next part, and that's called the rebound trap. Now, most people, again, who come off the GLP-1 eventually, they do so because it's costly, life gets in the way, etc. And when they do, here's what the research shows. A clinical study published in late 2025 found that 82% of people who stopped Mounjaro regained at least a quarter of their lost weight within 1 year, which is honestly absolutely astounding. But here's a part that never makes it into the before and after post that you see. The weight that comes back is almost entirely fat, not muscle, because you need to create muscle. Fat is just stored energy, but with muscle, you need to exercise for it. So you can end up lighter on the scale and when you've started, but carrying more fat and less muscle before you ever touch the drug, that is. And for South Asian women who already started with less muscle and then paid the muscle tax during treatment, this can leave you in a worse body composition than where you began. So you're probably thinking then, is this video not just telling me not to take Mounjaro? No, for people who genuinely need it, medically assessed, all that sort of stuff, it helps. It absolutely helps, but the drug is not the plan. The people who fall into the rebound trap are the ones who got the prescription without the strategy. So let me give you the strategy. 2 things, both backed scientifically by the GLP-1 research, and this will change the outcome completely. So the first one is protein. When your calories drop on this drug, protein is a signal that tells your body to protect this muscle. So all that muscle that you've got, it tells you to protect it. And research in GLP-1 users specifically recommends between 1.2 and 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight every single day. Now, people will argue till they're blue in the face. I really don't know why, but a meal at Nando's will get you anywhere between 30 to 50 grams of protein easy. So if you weigh, let's say roughly 70 kg, that's between 84 and 112 grams of protein daily. I know what you're thinking. That sounds like chicken breast and protein shakes, 7 days a week. It does not have to be. And this is why I always say to people, work with someone take a course, learn a bit more about how you can get protein in your day, because it doesn't just revolve around chicken breast. It could be simple as, eggs at breakfast instead of just, toast and tea, a proper portion of chicken or lamb alongside your dal, Greek yogurt stirred into your curry instead of cream, low-fat paneer, actually doing its job at your meal, not just sitting on the side. The Desi diet is not the problem. Protein just needs to come to the front of the plate. The second is resistance training, not a gym membership, not an hour of weights every day, just even something as simple as body weight exercise at home. If you've got resistance bands in your living room, that will do. Anything that signals to your body, keep the muscle. That's it. The body needs a reason to hold on to the muscle. And the evidence specifically on GLP-1 users show that protein combined with a little bit of exercise is the primary way to protect the lean muscle during the treatment. So for South Asian women on this drug, these are not optional. They are the difference between Mounjaro working for you for the long term and the rebound trap waiting the moment you stop. And that's it. I've given you the antidote. Exercise and just increases, have a little bit more eggs, have a little bit more tandoori chicken, whatever it might be, just a little bit more in your day, and maybe just do 1 or 2 bodyweight workouts, even do a YouTube workout, that will do. So to pull this all together, South Asian bodies start with less muscle and more visceral fat than the population these drugs were tested on, okay? So remember, Mounjaro accelerates muscle loss on top of that baseline purely just because a lot of South Asians don't exercise, so the body doesn't see it as a necessity. Like literally that's it. So when most people stop, the weight rebounds, mostly as fat, leaving body composition like worse than it was before. And that's why a lot of people lose faith in it. They think, oh my God, my body wasn't built for this. And protein and resistance training are what changes that outcome. And if you've been wondering whether the food and supplement industry has already found a way to cash in on people taking these drugs, they have. And it's worse than you think. I already made a video, and it's the Mounjaro and Ozempic food scams targeting people just like you. So before you go, please watch this video. I promise you, it's going to be a little bit comedic, but it's going to add a lot of value as well. And it's going to make you go, what the F?